Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is weigh. Let's take a look at some of the definitions or the ways that we use this verb. The first way you are likely to hear weigh used is to mean to find out how heavy someone or something is. So with this first definition, this might be an action you engage in regularly. I know some people who step on a scale each morning and try and see how heavy they are. For other people, they might only do this when they visit the doctor's office. Very common, again, to step on a scale to determine how heavy. But this is something people might also do at work, when you're grocery shopping sometimes and trying to determine maybe how much are these bananas going to cost, right? You could put them on a scale, right, to determine the weight. A second way you'll hear the verb weigh used is to mean to have a specified weight. Sometimes we'll hear in certain sports, we'll hear athletes weigh a particular amount. This might be relevant in boxing and wrestling, where we try and kind of put people who are about the same size together. A third way you'll hear the verb weigh used is to mean to assess the nature or importance of something in order to act or make a decision. So with this third definition, maybe you've heard somebody say they're weighing their options, right? So kind of thinking about, considering, if I choose this, what will happen? If I choose the other thing, what will happen? That's that third definition. You should know that weigh is a regular verb. To make the progressive form of this verb, all you need to do is add ing to form weighing. The past tense and participle forms of this verb can be made by adding ed. Our base verb, weigh, ends with a vowel sound. It's a long A sound. So as I form this past tense ending, I'm just going to make a D sound. And the reason for this is all vowels are voiced sounds. We tend to make D sounds after voiced sounds. So I'm not going to add an extra syllable as I say it. It's just going to be a D sound. So it should sound like this. Weighed, weighed. Okay. Now there are actually a number of phrasal verbs that are used in connection with this verb. So we're going to spend the bulk of this video discussing these different phrasal verbs. And we won't do any individualized verb tense practice today, just to keep these videos from being so long. So the first phrasal verb we'll discuss is to weigh against. The meaning here ties back really to that third definition we were just looking at. So here we're comparing the pros and cons. So this could be like benefits and disadvantages of various options in order to reach a decision. An example of this might be, we weighed your proposal against several others and we decided to hire you. Okay, so here many companies, many individuals said, hire me for this particular job. People submitted written proposals saying what I can do and maybe how much it would cost, right? And the hiring organization or hiring individual, right, looked at all of them, considered the benefits, the disadvantages or the drawbacks to each, and selected one. So here we weighed your proposal against would be an example of the simple past tense. A second way we can use weigh against is to mean to have a negative effect or impact on someone or something. An example of that. Your numerous absences will weigh against your final grade in this course. This is a sentence that might be similar to one you've heard professors and teachers saying. This is an example of the simple future using will, and they're trying to alert you. Being absent a lot is going to have a negative impact on your final grade. The next phrasal verb we'll discuss is to weigh down. This can also have a couple different meanings. One would be to prevent something from moving by placing a weight on it. So placing something that is heavy. An example of this. It's windy today. Weigh down these paper plates with silverware. Okay, so maybe someone's preparing for a picnic, right? And the wind is really blowing. So in order to keep the plates on the table, they're saying take a heavy knife, fork, spoon, whatever, put it on the plate to keep it from moving. A second way you'll hear weigh down used is to mean to be a burden or impediment. So this weigh down is not really something we can see. It might be something that is sort of challenging, a kind of a physical or rather emotional, I should say, an emotional type of situation. An example of this, stress has weighed them down. That sentence, has weighed them down, is an example of the present perfect. Okay? And I think I forgot to mention the previous weigh down these paper plates. That was the imperative. Okay? Now let's take a look at our next phrasal verb. It's weigh in. This can also have a few different meanings. One would be to be a certain weight. An example of this, the boxer weighed in at 160 pounds. Okay, so we're talking about to be of a certain weight. A second way people use weigh in is to mean to offer an opinion. Many times this is done verbally. It could be done by email or in a written way, but an example of this might be, our experts will weigh in on the matter. Right? So they're going to offer their opinion. Maybe we're collecting ideas on what to do or how to move forward with something. Now, let's continue looking at a few more phrasal verbs. The next one we'll discuss is to weigh on. This can have a few meanings. One would be to have some type of problem or responsibility that's really making you kind of worried, or perhaps it's making you unhappy. An example of this, there's been a lot of turnover in his department and it's been weighing on him. Okay, so maybe this particular person, because others are leaving, they feel a lot of stress. I've got to do more than just my normal job. Now I need to make up for these other folks that are leaving. It's been weighing on him is an example of the present perfect progressive or present perfect continuous. So it's feeling, we're describing a feeling started in the past and it is continuing into the present. A second way to use weigh on would be to add some additional weight, many times leading to something that's going to either bend or even just break. An example of this might be, there's a great deal of snow and ice weighing on the roof. So we might be worried about it falling in, caving in from that additional weight. The last phrasal verb we're going to discuss today is weigh out. This can also have a few different meanings. One would be to measure and sort of separate either into groups or by weight. An example of this, we should weigh out all the ingredients first. Okay? So here, this might be something people do as they cook. Some people might use the verb measure here. That can be used in kind of a similar way here, but with certain recipes or certain approaches to cooking, people are focused more on the weight or how heavy certain ingredients are and how they're going to be combined together. Last phrasal verb we'll discuss today is the second meaning for weigh out. This can also be sort of to consider the merits, consider what's good about an option or many options. An example of this, voters are going to weigh out candidates' visions for the future before casting their votes. So here's another simple future sentence. This is using be going to. So someone might be making a prediction here. There are many mayoral elections coming up in the next few weeks. And so for many people, they're kind of considering kind of who has the best ideas, who has the best plans for the future. Now, let's spend a moment looking at some words that are related to our verb way. The first word we're going to look at is just the noun form of this word. We're going to add the letter T to this, but we're still going to pronounce this with a long A sound. So our noun here is wait. Wait. Okay. This one way to use this noun is to refer to the mass, the heaviness of some person or thing. An example of this might be, her weight has stayed the same for the last 5 years. A second way you'll hear weight used as a noun is to refer to some heavy object, particularly something that's being lifted or carried. An example of this, be careful lifting heavy weight. Okay, for some people's job, this is part of it, and they have to learn to bend and move in a particular way so that they don't injure any part of their body. A third way the noun weight gets used is to refer to either blocks or discs or other really heavy material that's used as part of one's exercise program. So, an example of this, do you enjoy lifting weights? Okay. For some people, they really love it. I have never enjoyed it. I think that has stopped me from being a very good athlete because I'm just not interested in doing it. A fourth way to use the noun weight is to refer to the importance that is attached or maybe connected to something. An example of this test carries a great deal of weight on your final grade. So here we're saying maybe it's representing a larger portion of your grade. It has larger importance, greater significance to what your grade in a particular course will be. Another related word you might hear is the verb wait. So W-E-I-G-H-T can also be a verb. Many times when we're using it, we're talking about holding something down by placing a heavy object on top of it. So an example of that could be weight those papers down with a mug. So imagine taking a coffee mug, putting it on a stack of papers so that maybe a fan doesn't blow them. But a second way we could use the verb weight is to refer to attaching importance or value to something. An example of this, will spelling and grammar be weighted in the assessment? So this is a question I've received many times when I'm teaching writing courses, like am I going to reduce someone's grade because their spelling and grammar contains many mistakes? Now, the last word we're going to discuss today is the adjective weightless. This is something I know my students and I have encountered as we've read about space exploration and astronauts, but this comes up because we're talking about something that is not acted upon gravity, something that's not making them kind of push towards the center of the planet, right? Fall to the ground. An example of this might be, many people want to travel to space to experience a weightless feeling. Okay. So I'm quite happy on Earth, but I still have other friends and colleagues who I think are very intrigued by this idea. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.